Welcome, Rocco.
How you doing, sir? It's good to see you.
Doing great. Good to see you. So let's just jump right into it. Why film? You're a guy that has all kinds of different ideas. What gave you the idea to really jump into the whole medium of film?
Well, when I was a kid, it started with me and Logan, like writing stories together in my father's apartment. And it was...
Oh, wow. So you guys have been writing and working together since childhood?
Yeah, since...
Okay.
I believe the winter of first grade, so that's 2009 maybe. And very, like, specifically, we were watching the remake of The Day the Earth Stood Still on the TV on Comcast. And me and him came up with like a bunch of ideas, and some of them we're still gonna do. And honestly, it just started like, why don't we always liked horror movies or mainly action or mainly the Seth Rogen comedies. And it was like, why don't we just do our own? And this is first grade, so this is 2009, so I believe we're like 8, 9 years old maybe. And film came first. You know, I'm interested in music and DJing and everything. And I always had music ideas at that time also. But it was always, you know, film came first. And as far as acting goes, Johnny Depp and James Franco were the two, because I would watch Johnny Depp films with my gram, like that was our thing kind of. Mm-hmm. And all his obscure stuff to his mainstream stuff, and that was like, he's like really interesting to me. And then the filmmaking part came from the James Franco and Seth Rogen, because you know they wrote everything, and I'm like, well, and in this process, it's like I feel like a lot of people get intimidated because it's a lot of work and a lot of moving parts, and it's very stressful. Anxiety starts to rise and everything, and I was always like, well, this is what I want to do. No one else kind of knows how to do this stuff. I think I do. So I'm just gonna, that's why all the hats, the writing, directing, writing, right. Acting also, that's where everything stems from.
So you're also a DJ, and so I was wondering if you could speak a little bit to, do you see that role of being a DJ and say a director being similar in some respects, or are they just completely different? I was wondering if you could speak to that.
Well, I would say they're similar in the sole fact it's both painting on the blank canvas. You're essentially in control of all the moving parts, the stems of everything. I would say that in DJing, you're directing the crowd, but at the same time, the crowd is directing you. And then when we're filming, for example, if John Sape Jordan is, you know, we're, in my mind, I'm like, this is the idea for the scene. But if we show up on, let's say, Spencer's driveway, the cinematographer, Jordan might not look good under the streetlight because it's too bright or whatever. So everyone's sort of directing themselves.
So even though we're talking about two different sets of media here, you see both of them as being collaborative.
Oh, absolutely.
In many ways.
And that's, I feel like a lot of people don't do that. I feel like a lot of people come on and they're like, no, it's only going to be this one way, my way specifically. Not me personally, but I feel like that's a lot of the industry standard. And something that I learned in this regard too, MT, was, for example, on the poster, like everybody's names are here specific to a, maybe like a role, as you would say, but truthfully, everybody did everything, you know? So right. It kind of feels almost lying or not telling the exact truth when it came to those specific...
Well, that kind of brings us to the story itself as well, and I was wondering if you could speak to, with the end product that you got with the film, was it terribly different than how you originally envisioned it, or did the story change or evolve? Because, you know, art can play out a couple different ways, right?
Absolutely.
Some people just start with the basic idea and they just go with the flow. Others have it already in their head.
Absolutely.
The whole thing of how they want to see it. And so how do you fall on that?
Well, to answer the first part of your question, sir, the way the story ended is completely, it was like its own animal in a way, its own monster. It truly directed itself because of everyone's schedules. Like, for example, Jordan's thoughts, Johnny's thoughts, everyone took my idea, and I told everybody, I said, look, I want everyone's ideas on this. And the original story stemmed from, my other grandma on my father's side, she raised me on the Goosebumps books. And there's a series that R.L. Stine did, the author of those books, he did a more mature series called The Haunting Hour. It was on the Hub Network. It ran it for a good while, like 6-7 seasons, I believe. And there was an episode called Catching Cold, which was based off of a short story. And in that story, it's essentially this ice cream truck. Long story short, it's this obsession with this childhood treat. Like, you're obsessing over things that you really don't need. And when I was a kid and I saw that episode, I was like, well, it always gave me like more graphic atmosphere than really what it portrayed in the episode. And when we sat down and did so what short film are we going to do first? I thought, well, why don't we just take that idea, like, don't make it anything similar, but obviously inspired by, and make it way darker. But create different themes, maybe create more fantasy-like themes. For example, in Ours, there's more of like a cult, like murders going on. In the original story, it's about, ice cream and obsessing over things, as you know. And it's also and in the short story, the author also portrays that, for example, when you hear a dog whistle, a dog hears like a whistle when it's food time. Every day, the dog is going to know at 3 p.m., even if you don't blow the whistle, it's going to be there ready. So when you hear the ice cream jingle, it's sort of like you're already ready to go.
Right.
But in our version, we made it more graphic and weird,
You've been friends with Logan for a really long time. Has that collaborative process changed with him a lot, or is it still, when you're working with him, kind of more of that childlike quality about just coming up with interesting ideas and working on stories?
Well, as far as the core of how me and him started, it's the same. It's the same childhood, it's like with him specifically, it's when he comes up with an idea, he just can't stop. It's almost like he's like on drugs or something. It's addiction. Like, he needs it, But it's the same core. As we've gotten older, I believe it's interesting that like I said, the James Franco, Seth Rogen point, it's turned into, Seth Rogen and his friend Evan Goldberg they came up Superbad, Pineapple Express, all that, Knocked Up, all that. Evan took the writer back seat, and Seth Rogen was the actor. And that's how it's going between me and him now. He's writing more than he's acting. And as we're going along, for some specific short films, I'm like, hey man, you have to act in this. Like, you can't. There's no way you can't.
Right.
So it's, to answer your question, sir, it truly is the same. And I feel like that's very rare,
Well, great art always comes from a childlike wonder, right?
Absolutely.
About the world, about them. And that's one of the great things about you, Rocco, is I don't think you've ever lost your childlike sense of wonder, and that's a really good thing.
I appreciate you saying that, sir. Really.
So what's next for Rocco Magone?
Well, what's next for me is I'm doing another short film. It's called Pinata. It's going to be a more dramatic comedy. We'll see if the same people are involved with this second one. Johnny, Jordan, me and Logan are already on it. That one's mainly me though, because when you get into dramatic stuff, it's like, that's proven to be the most difficult genre to write for me, next to romantic comedies. And that's on the film front. And obviously, we're going to do, the plan is to do a feature in next winter, just January, February, around that time. And as far as my music goes, I'm very proud to say this. I have original music coming out with two individuals that I grew up listening to. One of them, his name is Messinian, and Messinian is in the electronic dance community. Okay. And also we've gotten Cool Keith to be on the track from Ultramagnetic MCs. Oh, so great. These two gentlemen have been treats, and they've actually turned into mentors for me, which is very interesting. So very smart people. And Messinian, his real name is James. He's also a teacher. So it's really cool how he's turned into an MC and done all these, ultra music festivals, right, and all this. Now he's a teacher now. And he's in Arizona, so there's a 3-hour difference. Mm-hmm. So he'll call me at 3:00 in the morning, my time, and I'm there, to work out what's going on with him. And there's just a lot of more shorts, more music, original music. And as far as DJing goes, I just want to expand my live sets in the different states and hopefully different countries, sir.
That's awesome. That's great. So what about the music for Dragon Ice Cream? I know you're obviously a big fan of music. You're a DJ. We were just talking about George Clinton and the whole Parliament Funkadelic thing the other day. So how did the music work for Dragon Ice Cream?
Well, the music was, I'm doing it originally with myself and my other best friend, Tyler Sheets, and Logan. We're all kind of playing. I'm the one composing it electronically, and it's going to be, I would say, atmospheric. If you've ever seen Spring Breakers, Harmony Korine's film, it's a lot of atmospheric music. That's the vibe for the, and that should go on iTunes, Spotify, just as a soundtrack, maybe 10 minutes, and it'll be a cool companion friend to the short film.
Right. So, growing up, what scared you the most?
I don't know. I would say some aspects in horror films. I grew up with my grandma, so my mom and my dad, it was always separation all the time. So always going from my mom's house to my uncle's to my father's. And this is gonna sound really like crazy or dark, but it was always like, I always was scared of like not knowing what was gonna happen as far as like being alone or something. So it was sort of like,
well, the stability was a little sketchy, right? So it would seem to me to be pretty normal that would be a real fear.
Yeah, so it was that, I mean, horror, Goosebumps, some of the Goosebumps, some of horror films, like I couldn't, the graphic nature of The Walking Dead was too much for me until like middle school. So I don't know, maybe gore stuff, but maybe like I would say to a more serious note, maybe internal anxiety and how to deal with that. And it's interesting too, because growing up, I'm starting to see the other family members on my father's side has that too. So maybe it is, you know, a genetic journey that everyone has to go through at one point or another, you know.
Well, thank you for your time, Rocco, and good luck with the film.
Thank you for your time, sir, and thank you for doing all these. I really appreciate it.
You bet.